In this session, we are going to learn how we can handle the exception. Very important topic. These are some macros which is very frequently used in order to handle the exception. Here you can see the first macro exit underscore return. Second macro exit underscore object underscore not found. And the third macro exit underscore cancelled. I will show you how you can use exit underscore return and exit underscore object underscore not underscore found. These two, the third one you will have to do it yourself. If you are not able to do, I will show you in the next session. Now let's directly go into the system, and here I want to define one requirement. What I want to do that when I'm passing some value from here, you know, and if it is not creating the object, then in that case I have to return some valid message, okay, that unable to create the object, something like that. Let's suppose if you're passing some bad parameter over here, right? So for example, something I'm passing which is not present in B VBAK table, right? The sales order is not present. So for this, the instantiation will not be possible, of course, because that is not present, right? So if you put the breakpoint over here and go back and generate it and click on this execute button, then come here and now if you press F6, you can observe, you know, here the size of RC value. I'm going to press F6. See 8026, you got the size of RC value, right? That means the object instantiation was not taken place correctly. And then in that case, it will go into this, right? And it will not go into all these things because your instantiation was not taken properly. So come here into this program and I want to handle this particular exception. So how to do? Now we will come here and here we can write the logic, right? Here we can write the logic. I will just put into a notepad all this and I will make this code little cleaner so it will be easy to understand. Remove this, and this also I'm going to remove. See here how clean your code now with the help of macro, correct? So that is improving your readability, correct? So that's the biggest benefit of this macro. Another benefit that from performance point of view, it's quite better or significantly better, I would say. But the biggest problem with the macro is that you will not be able to debug it so easily. Okay. But one easy way of debugging I will share with you. Now just save it over here and check it. It looks fine. So here, when size of RC is not equal to 0, I'm going to handle the exception, right? Handle the exception. So come here and handle the exception using exit underscore return macro. This exit underscore return macro would expect 5 parameters. So in the first parameter, you will have to pass the exception code. Okay. Here in the first parameter, you will be passing the exception code. This exception code we are going to determine. And another parameter, you know, just will be passing a space, something like that. Okay. It depends like what kind of message you want to means what message. So these are like uh, placeholders. Okay. Click on the save button and let's go back and we will create the exception. So click on this button, click on this exception parameter, click on this create button, and give this exception code over here. One thing the important which you should know about the exception code, you know, if you come here, see here, this number range we use for the, means SAP use a standard number range, you can say. SAP use this number range. We can use this number between 9,000 to 9,999, right? We developer, as a customer of SAP, we can use this one. So now let's go and, create it 9,000 1 or 2, so 2 I will do. Application area means the message ID, message means message number. Let's quickly go and create one, slash n AC93, right? You know about what is this AC93. AC93 is the place where you can go and create the, sorry, AC91. So sorry, AC91 is the place where we can go and create the message class. So ZWF, have we created anything already message class? No, it looks like we have not created. So WF training demo, something like that. Click on this create button and go to the message and workflow training. Click on this save button, click on this OK button, and here object was not created for %1, right? So for object type this with key, the placeholder, like as we define in ABAP, right? Just save it, go back, and I'll copy this, go to the programming part here, give this message ID and message number, only one message number, 000, right? The first message number which we have created, it's the 000. So that's why 000 I'm giving. Click on this OK button, and now it looks fine. Okay, go to the program now, and now we have to write the code here. Exception code we have just defined. What? Type here in the chat box 9002 space, the first space ampersand I have given for what purpose? The object type purpose, correct? And the second for the key. So what key? This is the key I'm passing. So this we can make it, in the variable format, right? In the variable format. So that is fine. Let's keep it as hard coded at this moment. Space. What is telling? Possible cause incorrect spelling or comma or something like that. Do you have to pass only 4? Let's see. Looks fine now. So only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parameters. Okay, it was some extra parameter that was creating the problem. Click on this and it got successfully generated. Now click on this execute button, and if you click on this button, we are expecting now some message here, and exit return. And see here, object was not created for object type this with key whatever we are passing, right? This is how you can do. Now the important point over here is to understand how to use this one in workflow. Okay, it's very simple to use in workflow and handle the exception in workflow. So let's go and quickly create one workflow, SWDD transaction where we go and create the workflow. So it's taking some time, but now it got open. And click on this create button, double click on this, click on this activity, and come here, click on create task, handle exception. Z, which, what is this? This is what we have, correct? Copy this one. And here in the method, we have this particular method we are using, correct? Now click on this save button. Come here, click on this OK button and click on this OK. One thing which you have to have more focus on this part here. And another thing, you should have the good focus on this part. Click on this button, go to the exception, double click on this. Here, if you observe, I have chosen the temporary error. This exception class, the error type is temporary error. You have three type. Okay. So at this moment, what I have done, it's a temporary error. And another thing, I'm using here this as a dialog task. This task is a dialog task. If you don't mark this one, that means some user is required to take the action. Okay, just go back and click on this OK button. And now come here and select workflow initiator itself. Click on this OK. Okay. And one more thing, here it's in agent assignment for task. Let's go and check if it is general task or not. If it is not general task, make it general task. Okay. Otherwise you will get the problem. Go back, click on the save button and ZWF demo, maybe I'm not sure, it should be 15 or something like that. Click on this button, click on the save button, click on this OK, and now it looks fine. Click on this save, right? So here the beauty of the way in which you are handling the exception, that your exception parameter automatically will come here. Object was not created for object type 1 with key. How? From where it got? It got from here. In this task, I'm using this business object type, and this method I'm using. In this method, we have that, exception defined, right? That's why from here it got. And you have defined the code also for the exception 9002, right? So from there it identified, okay, you have defined the exception, and that's why under the outcome, it's giving one more parameter. But until and unless you activate, you will not be able to model that particular step. So just observe here that you don't have any extra step in this, only single step you have, means single branch you have, right? Now, if you go and, enable this, just enable this, you will be able to see that you will be having that extra branches. And now you can model that step. So you can come here, object was, this is that step, object was not created for object. So if the object was not created, let's suppose if you want to send a message to someone, that object was not created, workflow got filled, something like that. Object was not created, object got filled, right? Just click on this OK button. So see, the thing is that the benefit of this way of handling the exception, that you are getting one extra branches where you can write your activity. If you don't define the exception, what will happen, that you will not be able to do anything, right? You will not be able to handle the exception. If you want to do some custom activity, you will not be able to do it. You can define any kind of a step over there on this branch. Just save this one and click on this execute button. Oh, I have to activate, right? Let's click on this activate also once again and click on this execute button. Now let's execute, and you can see that because I have marked that step as a dialog step, our debugger got triggered. If it would have been a background step, you will not be able to see that your debugger would be triggering. Okay. And here what will happen? This method is getting triggered. It will going to surely raise this exception, right? Because in this except I'm is forcefully giving this error, correct? And then in that case, what will happen? Tell me. It will follow the steps where error was there. See here, the error step, it was there. But you simply go and change the code, right? If you simply go and change the code. Hope you are able to understand this, right? Here it came, it throws the exception. In case of exception, I have defined this step, I have modeled this step. If there would have not been exception, it has followed this, the left branch, without this email branch. If you want to see in more detail, you can go into the log and there you can check it out, what error and all those things you got. So click on this workflow log and go to this technical detail, right? And here handle exception, you come and see the message, right? This 9002, correct? This, all this data you are getting it over here in the detail. See, a step outcome, object was not created for object type. This was the step outcome, right? So this is how, like, the area message ID, the message number is 000, right? Message text, it's not showing, but generally we'll be able to see the message text also over here, the complete message text here. Okay, right? But no problem, still you can go into the message ID and 00 message and you can find it out what was the message it has returned by going into the AC91 transaction. You can come and you can give 0 and display, right? It's the simple, right? Let's go back and you got some idea. Now what actually I'm trying to show you, that if you like don't, let's go to the, I will close this, go back, click on this program and make it the correct one, right? So this is the sales order number. Just give this sales order number, and in this case it will not throw an exception, and because it will not throw an exception, it will go and give you the data and everything fine. There will not be any problem, and this breakpoint will be also triggered, right? So check this syntax and now it looks good. Go back and regenerate this. And sometimes, like, if your regeneration and all is not working, let's suppose if you are doing some changes in the workflow and it looks like no, that okay, I'm doing the changes but still it's not working as expected, so there may be very much possibility that your buffer is not cleared. right? So whenever you do some changes, have a practice to use the transaction SWU underscore OBUF. Okay. So if you're going to use this transaction here, you will have to click the start synchronization button, and it will help you to not have any such problem. Okay. So that is one recommended step. Please do. So after doing some changes again, whenever I do anything in the workflow, I go and click on that start synchronization, so that at least from the buffer point of view, I will make sure that I'm okay. There is no problem. Come here, and I'm going to execute this time once again, right? I will execute it from fresh, execute, and then execute it. And see here, it's triggering the debugger. Fine, it has come here. And this time you will not be able to see the size sub RC different. So press F6, you will see 0, right? You can see, means it got successfully created the object, because this ID is, this key is correct. Sales order number is correct. So here it has come, and again, it will give you all the data, right? And if you want to get back this data and all into the workflow, that's absolutely fine, right? You'll have to use the set and all, but let's press F8, and you got here a status completed also, right? There is no problem. And if you want to see the graphical log, see how it has, see here, it's taking the left branches, right? Now, some important point which you should know when you are handling the exception. Okay, I told you in the beginning that the task for which I was defining the exception, that was what? Tell me. It was a dialog task. So the behavior which you are able to see at this moment is for dialog task plus temporary error, right? Now we will see, by marking this task as a background task and observe its behavior. So I'm selecting this as a background processing, and also note that at this moment we have chosen this exception code as a temporary error, right? So for temporary error in background processing, let's observe the behavior now. Already we have observed the behavior for dialog processing. Click on the save button, go back. When you mark as a background processing, don't you think so that you have the option to reprocess the work item if it throws the exception? So that you have the option, SAP has given the option that here you can mention that how many times, if some exception or error comes, you can repeat it, and you can expect that error will resolve automatically. Then each repetition should be after how many minutes? Let's suppose once the error comes, then first attempt was repeated, then again after 1 minute, second attempt will be repeated, like that. Once it does all the repeats and still it finds that error comes, then it will go through this modeled step, whatever you have modeled the steps in that way. If you have not modeled this step, that means if you don't have this step, only you have the single step, then in that case it will of course go with error in all the cases. But if you have modeled this in this way, then in this case it will be completed, it will not go into the error stage. So that's the benefit of modeling the steps for the error part, for the exception part, that your status will be shown as a completed. Fine. So let's click on this save button and click on this activate button, and let's click on this execute. So click on this execute, and now you see that its status is in process. So currently it will be there in process, and it will keep on repeating for 2 times because we have mentioned as the option was given for the background task that we can, you know, give that option how many times it can repeat. So there will be a job which will be keep on running, you know, that job name. If you want, I can show you. You can go to SM37, and this is the name of the job. This job is scheduled for each interval, and where you can see the customization of this job under SWU3. SWU3. Here you can come and you can see the this particular scheduled background job for work items with error. So this is already scheduled, so nothing to worry. It, it must be scheduled, then only you will be able to see that after sometimes, you know, after how we have maintained over there. So 2 times, and it was after 1 minute, so maximum after 2 minutes it will be completed. Right, so let's go and refresh this, and by this time it should be status in completed. So still it is not there in completed, so let's wait for some more times and we will be able to see that it will be completed. Okay, so this is how it happens. Okay, if you want to see, like, you know, if you have this cross mark, fine, then in that case you will have to click on this button and you have to schedule. So I have just clicked once again just to show you. So here also you can see how this job has been scheduled. Job has been scheduled, say interval until next rerun, 1 minute. Okay, repeat counter for work items with errors too. So like that the job, you know, it's there, the counter means 2 times it will repeat by default. So because I have maintained there also 2 times, if let's suppose at the workflow task level you have maintained for 5 times, then that 5 will overwrite this when it will run, you know, means the preference will be taken by 5 over 2. Hope I'm making sense. Now let's refresh once again, and you can see that at this time it got completed, right? Means it has tried for 2 times after one 1 minute, and then, you know, it got completed. So if you go and check it out, the complete graphical log, this is how, right? And status will be completed. See here, the status is completed, correct? So we understood, like, when you have selected the when you have defined your exception by selecting temporary, then in dialog, and if you have defined your task as a dialog, then in that case how it works. Also we have seen, if you have selected this as a temporary and you have defined as a background task, then how it works. That means, see, if you have selected as a temporary, whether it is a background or dialog task, if you have modeled the steps, the status always remains completed. If you have not modeled the step and if you are going to get the error, then it will be there in error status always. Okay, so it's very important that you model the step so that you will be able to handle the exception and your workflow status will be shown as completed. We understood for temporary error. Now for application error and system error together, we will see. So either for application error you choose or for system error you choose. It's the behavior is going to remain same. Okay, so what actually I'm trying to show you, let's go into the change mode, double click over here and select either application or system. So whatever the behavior is going to be there for application error, the same behavior is there for system error. So I will show you for application error and then the same you can understand for system error. So just save it, go back and regenerate this one. Now this step at this moment we have marked as a background task. If you see this, right, background task. So let us go and see its behavior. So here what we have, now let's click on this activate button and so you can see that it got deleted the steps automatically when I changed the type of exception. So again quickly I will define for this particular step. I will model this step. It's always good to model the step. I will send the email, some exception occurred, something like that. Click on this OK button, click on this OK, save it, OK, and save here. Now click on this activate and click on this execute. So here, because this is in background and it's marked as a application or system error, that exception type. So in this case, what will happen, because this is application or system error, system will not go and retry again and again. Even if you have mentioned here under the miscellaneous, you know, to 1, it will not go and again try and try. Why? Because this is application error, it is not temporary error. If something is temporary, you can give a try once, twice, thrice. If something is not temporary, permanent, why to again try? Will not make any sense, right? So in case of application or system error, even though it's there in the background, you will be able to see that your task will be immediately completed without retrying. So click on this execute button, click on this and you will see that your task will be immediately completed. See here, it got immediately completed, right? So, and let's suppose if it is there in the dialog, again it will be immediately completed. It will not go, means it will be of course immediately completed because it's there in the dialog. So hope you understood this concept very well. One more thing, let me quickly show you. I have put up these parts in the slides. Here you can go through and check it out. The same thing which I have just explained.